Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tommy McCarthy. This is Let's Talk Cyber. We are still here at AICS, the third edition. Kurtis Toy, Chief Executive of CCoE. Welcome, Kurtis, to Let's Talk Cyber.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
Yeah, wonderful. Kurtis, before we get into CCoE, tell us a little bit how the event's gone so far. What kind of conversations have you been having?
It's been really good so far. There's been lots of people coming up being quite interested in some services that we offer. We've explained that a lot of the things we do is helping public sector identify gaps. Types of things we look at are doing best of breed technologies and highlighting the ones that can be really useful for the public sector. We obviously specialise in trying to get military grade protections for retail prices. So we're talking to lots of businesses out here that are interested in looking at the same kind of thing, talking about some of the technologies that we think are valuable and what we think they bring to the table and why we think they're unique and why we've identified those as being the best ones. So AppGuard obviously being chief among them. Training from a wonderful company as well that we push forward for highlighting for staff awareness, etc. And lots of conversations we've had have been heavily focused on business relationships here in Bahrain. It's been a really good event for that.
I heard the conversation that you had yesterday with the UK ambassador, Alice Long, explaining a little bit more about what CCoE does back in the UK. Can you just elaborate a bit more on the relationships you have with the public sector in the UK and why you believe you're making a difference?
So the CCoE started a few years ago, as you know, from just before we launched, we came to Bahrain from the first event a few years ago. And we wanted to basically put a dome of protection over the whole of the UK, making sure that we're protecting right down into the communities, and obviously a good way to do that is through the local authorities, making sure that we're really helping them to identify anything that they can be doing to keep both the council lights on as well as all the small businesses and their communities. So helping to structure exactly what it is. One of the things we did for doing that was a vulnerability scan of every council in the UK, so it's 382 councils, and we created a report for every individual one. Unique to them, with not just the findings from the vulnerability report, but also the actions on how to fix them. That's really opened up a lot of doors, and just us being able to have the conversation and speak to them. It wasn't a commercial process, it was really just for research and supporting to really make sure we're raising them kind of minimum bar. And that's something we're interested in doing out here as well. And we've been engaging with local government here as well to see whether that's something we can be extending.
And I believe that vulnerability scan of the entire UK public sector infrastructure was the first of its kind in the UK.
That we're aware of, So it's now been something that we've then looked as kind of a national picture of risk kind of efforts. There are other things happening now from it, but that's come from the data analysis that we did from it. So there have been other things that have kind of been similar scans, but they've done one report talking about the entire thing. We think we're the first ones that have done it, where we're actually giving an individual report to each individual organisation. And those results are obviously entirely confidential. They're for the council and council alone.
And I guess from my own point of view, the $1 million question is: do you genuinely believe the Cyber Centre of Excellence is making a difference in supporting the public sector in the UK in general?
I think so, yes. And I'm very much happy to be supporting it, and we're really happy for the things that are coming. I think we've got a cracking advisory board full of really special people that are all leaders within their individual assets of cybersecurity. And then I'm just there helping basically to kind of be the generalist specialist to pull it all together and kind of translate that into what is the most valuable thing for public sector. So our advisory board is now complemented by a regional board, and that regional board is made up of different people from public sector, all CISOs themselves, coming to the table and then speaking back and forth with the advisory board to say that we've got this specific problem, how do we resolve that? And we're hoping that we can kind of take that on. And then we're expanding it to international waters as well, making sure that we're keeping up the knowledge sharing and making sure that we're also following best of breed processes, because obviously we've got a cracking advisory board in the UK, but that's not the only place we need to look to for intelligence. We're trying to make sure that we're also not missing anything from across the waters.
Well, Cyber Centre of Excellence, Kurtis Toy, keep up the great work that you're doing. Thanks for joining us on Let's Talk Cyber.
Thanks, Tommy.
Wonderful.
Cheers, thanks very much.